Project Director and the CEO of Career Management Career Management Center. Jane has practiced HR for over 14 years, scaling through different HR ranks and all that. Interestingly, her background in education has not been HR. It has been something different, and we are going to tackle that later in the session because we'd want to know how has that journey been. And she is a certified coach from the Coach Transformation Academy in Dubai that focuses on leadership and career coaching. And she has coached and mentored thousands of HR professionals in Kenya and beyond. And she is passionate about gender mainstreaming and equal opportunity, and is currently serving as the Kenya Envoy for World Women Organization as the Vice President for Women in African Transformation Initiative, which is implementing a program whose mission is to help moms with career gaps resulting from motherhood and related reasons back to the workforce. So that's quite a heavy profile that she has, and an admirable one in the same mini strength. So also with us, we have the man with the many names. If you ever met this person face to face, the introduction, you even lose count of how many names he has. And he's a darling to so many of us. He has taught many of us at the College of Human Resource Management. And this man is none other than Chris Sakwa Wangara. He is currently a director of HR development Ingenuity. It's a young HR consultancy firm. He's a founder, and he has extensive work experience spanning for over 14 years. This is also a man who wears many hats. In his career journey, he's been in sales, logistics, distribution, HR management, organization change, team building, and all that. He's a self-proclaimed and staunch devout Christian who is also a public speaker with experience in presenting at convention, workshops, seminars, and he's also worked for international organizations. But his area of expertise, as explained by him, is in HR consultancy, leadership development, personal development, and team development. If I start listing for you the credentials that Chris has, there are many, starting from being a CHRPK, being a certified professional mediator, a certified trainer, a NITA certified trainer. He's also an ISO 9001-2008 lead auditor. And surprisingly, his background in education is not even in HR. We shall discuss that later in the program. Then finally, we have Mark Voy. Mark Voy is the founder of People Edge Consulting, which provides HR services to small and medium business community. His work experience spans over 25 years, and he has diverse experience from startups to big and established organizations. He's also experienced in providing leadership and guidance to managers. Then before founding People Edge Consulting, where he currently works, he held leadership positions in companies such as Mumia's Sugar Company and Kenya Tourism Board. So ladies and gentlemen, having read all those profiles, your guess is as good as mine. We are in for a ride. We are in for a session full of nuggets and wisdom. And if you're not excited as I am, I don't know what to do with you. I know you're going to be carried away one way or another. So to start us off, I'd like my first question will go to Mark. Mark, based on just the profiles that I've reviewed, I've seen that you've been quite grounded in HR from the word go. So what attracted you to the profession? What has grounded you to the profession?
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone, once again. I would say my moving into HR practice was also accidental. Why do I say accidental? My training was in government, what we used to call political science, and I majored in international relations, assuming that I'll one day become an ambassador. But when the Public Service Commission appointed people for certain positions, I found myself as a personnel officer in the Ministry of Transport and Communications, which is currently called Ministry of Infrastructure. that's how I ended up in HR. However, I said, here I am, what do I do? And over time, I developed an interest in human resources, build my competence within human resources. But the first thing I did to actually ground myself within the HR space was to do the higher national diploma in human resources. That was way back in 1999. That's when I did my HND. And from then on, I've been within the HR space, within the public sector, parastatals, manufacturing concerns. I've worked in a bank and ended up in Mumias as a HR director. We did actually go there to turn it around. But those of you know Mumias, I know Chris must be knowing about Mumias very well. That name rings a bell. Whatever happened to Mumias is history. But personally, I have a major interest in human resources. I even besides being a consultant at the moment, I think I read more than most of you. I do a lot of reading. Yes, I've spent almost 500,000 shillings on books. And I have memberships within Kenya and without Kenya. So briefly, that's how I ended up in HR. I don't know whether that suffices to your question.
Yeah, that sufficed my question. And it's interesting to know that you joined in. When the new guys come in, we are told don't be sure not to move into personnel management. And it's interesting that's where you started. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so thank you so much for that. Now to hear the lady's voice, Jane, from a background of Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and Chemistry to HR, how has it been? How has the journey been?
I would say very interesting. Thank you very much, Bahati and the team behind this. Let me honor my first boss, the one who taught me how to put pins in a stapler, Mr. Madangani Moya. So I landed into HR when I went for my internship, and I just found the lab very boring. We're sitting
Ah,
there waiting for reactions to take 16 hours that you can do a report on whether the water has dirt in it or it's good for production and stuff to do with that. And I happened to be rotated in different departments during that internship. I was at Nestle, and I enjoyed my time the most in marketing and in HR. I am more sure, and I keep saying this is funny because I actually joined HR because I found it very powerful, in my opinion. Because every time people had to apply for jobs, would be blocked. You could not find the HR. For those of us who dropped hard that time, you had to leave your application with the watchman. So when I learned that you can actually go and study HR in a school, I was like, hiya. You mean I can be these people that are not even accessible? So that's how I got into HR, and I'm happy to say that I had very good grounding from Coach Madangani Moya. I was an intern under him for 1 year, and I got the best training. After that, I was able to run a department.
ah, interesting to know. Coach Muya, hats off to you for mentoring such a great woman. Now, to the man with the many names. Interestingly, this guy had his background in clothing and textiles and interior design. How that relates to HR, he will tell us. Please, how was that and how was the transition?
So, a good evening to us all. Thank you very much for having me on set today. I appreciate. There is an animal back in the day that used to be called Joint Admissions Board. I never knew clothing, textiles, and interior design was a course. I found myself there. Yeah, like they say, it was a lemon handed to me. Your guess is as good as mine what I did with the lemon. After having finished my clothing, textiles, and interior design degree, I wanted to, now having developed interest in interior design, pursue masters in interior design. I couldn't get that locally at the time. No university was offering locally. The nearest was in South Africa. And so I had to drop my ambitions. I couldn't afford it. So again, make another switch. But being someone who, like McVoy, loves books, I wanted to go and do my master's. So I had to think of what to do. I had to look for something to do locally. And so I thought to myself, I need to do master's. What would I qualify for? And so there was MBA, a very easy, ready option. as long as you have a first degree. But what in MBA? Being a people person and being inspired by two guys, one of them being Dr. Nasirembe, whom I had known in my childhood. He inspired me to also want to do HR. Well, it felt powerful to be a HR. Back then, he was personnel and training manager. You would go to him and he writes a note to someone, please deal, and you go there and you get a job, you know, so it felt powerful. I was like, yeah, I would want to be in this position someday. But aside from that, my own dad also was inspiration to me in opting to do HR. He is a trade unionist. He still practices to date. And so I felt like being in HR would be a good idea so that someday I can be head of HR in a sugar milling farm. And we can meet with him on a negotiating table. So he's on the other side and I'm on this side, and let's talk. And in the evening, we can meet at home and chat over it, you know. Yeah. That also is part of the inspiration for me to then opt to specialize in HR in my MBA. Be that as it may, at the time, I had found my way into Mumias Sugar Company. That's why Mark mentioned that. I was in Mumias for a while doing logistics, sales, and distribution at the time. Such a mix, you know, you have to make ends meet. I'm in Nairobi, I have a life to live, I have bills to pay. And so logistics, sales, and distribution came knocking. I took it, ran with it, did a decent job while at it, until a time when I decided, yeah, this is it. It's about time I stepped away. So coming from interior design, which I, from campus, started business with a friend of mine called Alvin Ongocho, who still runs the entity to date. It's called Urban Funk. He still runs it. So then Mumias came calling. I decided, yeah, I'll be able to pay rent, do 1, 2, 3 things, and then these other guys can concentrate on the business. They went on with the business. I was sucked into formal employment, did my fair share of 11 years, and I had a target to retire early. And my target was to retire at 40 and get back into business. So I equipped myself for it because I knew now HR is more like it. Went back, did my high diploma at the IHRM then, NBK 20th floor, finished that, felt like now I have a bit of a grasp of HR. I know what it is. But then getting a HR job became near impossible. I have the training, I have MBA HR, I have higher diploma HR, but where's the HR experience? Apart from managing a few people as a supervisor, where is the real HR experience? I couldn't get a job. But then I got some friends who we knew each other when I was doing clothing, textiles, and interior design back in campus that had started a consulting firm, and they needed someone with a master's degree in HR, and they were running a consultancy firm. That's how then my switch to HR became easier. So I quit Mumias Sugar before it completely went under, and got into consultancy, a newbie with the book knowledge, but zero HR experience. I haven't looked back. Thank you.
That's quite interesting. I believe many people actually resonate with the animal called Jab, and just moving into courses that they didn't feel like moving. Thank you so much for that. So back to you, Mark. What is a good HR brand? How can you say what is a good HR brand to you? You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much for the question. What you asked me is super, super. I don't know how to put it. I mean, we could discuss that the whole day. An hour is not enough. A super brand of HR is how have you shifted further away from the soft things that we talk about in human resources? And I'm not saying being soft is a bad thing, because we are known to be soft people, but we need to reimagine ourselves as HR practitioners and look at developing what my best author, Dave Ulrich, talks about, the 6 competencies of human resources. And competence basically are how do you demonstrate your behavior, your understanding of the business, and how do you execute HR? And the first one is how, for you to be a brand, are you a strategic positioner? Do you understand where the business is? in terms of challenges, competition, and all that. And how then do you position yourself as an HR practitioner within the organization? How do you marry your practice to strategy so that the outcomes of human resources are not just HR for HR, but it's HR for the business. HR is no longer HR itself, but HR is for the business. And that's why we are coming up with titles like HR business partner, HR people culture, and all that. Another important thing is, how credible are you? Can you be trusted? Do you do what you say? Credibility also bounces on the aspect of how do you, for instance, your CEO calls upon you to make a very, very illegal decision, say terminating somebody legally. How credible are you to stand your foot and say, look, as far as our policies and procedures are concerned, we are doing the wrong thing and this will be the repercussions. How do you also act as a capability builder? How do you build your own capabilities as an HR practitioner? And how then do you translate that into the business? That then, what kind of people do you have below you who are executing the HR practice? It has been common practice, and Chris might bear testimony in the other all-time practitioners, that we don't like having sharp people below us because we think they're going to take our job. You need to have capable people who are even better than you below you. And that makes you an even better HR practitioner, or a brand, if you like. How do you, for instance, manage change? Are you a change champion? Or are you just sitting in the corner fitting in those personnel shoes? Because I know of so many of us who are still practicing personnel, even though we've done our HND and, you know, we meet in conferences and use those heavy terminologies. But I meet people in conference and I ask them things to do with HR practice, which is best practice. And I get surprised that we are still in the personnel world of the 70s. How do you drive change? That's a capability. And then lastly is, how do you innovate? How do you innovate and integrate your HR practice in the organization? Are you an innovative person? Are you still printing pay slips in your office, for instance, or you are sending them on email? Guys get their pay slip, their e-pay slips, if you like. We have ISO 30414 that actually made me come back from Texas just to train people on ISO 30414. Are you an early adopter? Are you actually researching to know the current trends within the HR space? And how are you implementing that in your own organization? Of course, it requires change. There has to be that buy-in. You know how we manage the change process? Very critical. Then married to that is, are you a technology proponent? The buzzword now is, how do we shift the administrative tasks into IT or outsource them and focus on strategy, focus on issues that matter? Are you just coming to the office on a Monday, fitting into the office, managing records, telling people how many leave days they have, and you think you're doing HR? You are not doing HR. And finally, the elephant in the room, we need to practice data-driven HR. The ubiquitous buzzword now is HR analytics, HR metrics. How do you develop an interest in that new area that we are all required to understand? We don't need to be experts in that area. But how then do you use analytics to make insights out of the data you've collected? And how do you visualize that to present that to management and show the outcome of HR and the impact of HR in the business? In a nutshell, that's what I can say.
I know Nelson is smiling wherever he is. You've just mentioned data analytics. Huh? Maybe that's something which is close to his heart. So my good friend Chris, most of us in the bid to just strive to belong, strive to make an impact, strive to just remain relevant, we make so many mistakes along the way. So which are some of these common mistakes that we unknowingly do that could injure our reputation as a HR brand?
Let me say this, and the biggest mistake you would make from where I sit would be for you not to be clear about your why. Because if I just ran out and started doing what it is I'm seeing everyone else do, or what is trendy, or what I have read, but I'm not very clear on why in the first place I'm doing what I'm doing, then I miss the mark. And this is a borrowed concept from Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. And he says, people and organizations that have succeeded in their mandate are those that are clear about their why first, and they work from inside out. Why, how, and then what. So if I focus on the what, which is the brand, the HR, go to HR, and that's what I'm pursuing, and not necessarily be informed by my being, my credo, my philosophy, the why of doing what I am doing, then I miss the mark. So if the foundation is shaky, regardless of everything else I will do or try, I will fail. So why are you in HR? Are you in HR for the wrong reasons because you want to sit at the table across your father and negotiate? Are you in HR because you want to hire and fire? Why are you in HR? Why do you even want to build yourself and become that brand that will be sought after? So for me, that's the beginning place. If I'm clear with my why, it's compelling enough, then I'm on course to succeeding. We miss it there, we just go wrong everywhere. You see, they say you do not wait for a second chance to create the first impression. You miss it from the word go, you have missed it. Lord of the heavens, you have missed it. What other mistakes are people making? You want to run Jen Mutiso's race. It's good to have a mentor. It's good to have someone guide you. It's good to benchmark and check out against someone, but they are running their race. See, if today you are just a HR like me, you have achieved 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I do not know, for crying out loud, what you did to get to where you are. So comparing myself with others, like Desiderata says, I may become vain and bitter. It's not worth it. So am I running my race clear on why I even exist in the first place? And then the other thing I would probably pick is guys are out here busy showing off. Yeah, we want to outdo each other. You know, we want to appear like we are the go-to person, we are the best, and so you're fighting any and everyone, even those that are supposed to be shoulders for you to climb on so you can see beyond. You have brought them down and you have done everything you could do. So you're making big blunders in soiling relationships, because there's no one out here who is self-made. No one. You had Jen talk of and mention Coach Muya, who has played a part in helping her become who she is. We do not operate in isolation, not in a vacuum. And so definitely there are people around us, and those relationships would